Hello, everyone, and welcome to the. We're getting close to the penultimate. I don't know if this is the penultimate or next one will be the penultimate. F1 show, Formula S here on the SWW show. I have to accept all the cookies on the F1 site because apparently I hadn't. Schedule. Let's see. We were talking about the Nürburgring, Portugal.
Whoa, the
Imola,
Nuremberg. That's I don't like that. That sounds AJ. What offensive thing are we talking about today?
the Nürburgring.
I'm just
You're
saying
thinking of Nuremberg.
that's
Two
same thing, right?
completely different cities.
Oh, I
Nuremberg is an incredibly small village that's actually inside of the racetrack.
what?
Yeah. You know the Nürburgring. Like,
I know.
I feel like people, even if you're not really into cars or into racing, you've heard of the Nürburgring. It's that ridiculously long racetrack in Germany.
Okay.
Like, where car manufacturers tout their times around the Nürburgring.
Like
So,
that's the thing. Got it.
yeah. So that's the Nordschleife, the North Track. And the village of Nürburgring is actually inside the Nordschleife.
Mhm.
Because the Nordschleife is effectively a ring road around the village. In fact, it's a public road. It's a toll road, but you could take any normal car out there. Um, but F1 and a couple other series race on the GP track, which to the south of the Nordschleife, that they've added it in I think it was the late 80s, early 90s.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's not Nuremberg. It's not the Nuremberg trials. Don't worry.
Oh, good. I was very concerned. You had me scared.
So we've got one, two, three races. So this is the penultimate episode
Wow.
of Formula S. This calendar has got me all kinds of screwed in terms of when things are.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I would say in terms of the tracks, we got pretty much three of the not necessarily most unique, but three completely different tracks.
Mhm.
Uh, Portimao and or Algarve, sorry, in Portugal was the first time F1 had ever run there, so that was kind of cool to watch them go to a brand new track for
Mhm.
them. The Nürburgring has been not in the recent years, but between the Nürburgring and Hockenheimring, they would go back and forth for the German Grand Prix. Every now and then, a few seasons, they would have the other German race as the European Grand Prix. So they have hosted two German races in a season before. The Nürburgring hasn't been on the calendar lately, though, because of financial issues. Because the track is completely the GP track is completely separate in terms of being an entity from the Nordschleife, so they don't get any of the benefits that the Nordschleife gets in terms of the revenue and things like that. So the GP track only gets racing. So it's very difficult for a track in any economy to their only thing is racing. You need to get track days and public rentals and things like that. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. We had some pretty big news during these three races. Lewis Hamilton is now the winningest driver in history. He would never do it, but this is Lewis dropping another giant middle finger to all of the British fans in 2008 that dressed up in blackface and him as a monkey.
Hmm. What?
Uh,
What?
yep, that seriously happened. The UK is extremely racist. Um, they only tolerate him right now because he's winning. We have gotten to a point now where only Hamilton or Bottas could win the driver's title. So everybody else is mathematically eliminated. Uh, Bottas could be eliminated at Turkey, I think, with Hamilton might only have to score 1 point.
Really? You think it's is it that close?
It's well, it's a pretty wide gap, and I guess so. You have Turkey, the two Bahrain races, and then Abu Dhabi. So that's 26, 52, 104. So you would need a 104 point gap to have already claimed it.
Okay.
And Bottas has 197. Hamilton has 282. He's at 90.
Hmm.
A little under 90. So he would, if he wins Turkey, which he probably will, Bottas basically has to win out to have any chance in hell at getting this. Lewis has a little more breathing room. Valtteri has to be perfect. Lewis can kind of fuck around and do whatever he wants. Yeah. Both Haas drivers are out of their seats at the end of the year. It seemed like it was amicable between all three parties because they had a joint statement from the two drivers and then the team. Let's see, what else do we have for silly season? So, Pierre Gasly announced he is staying at AlphaTauri. Williams and Alpha announced that they are keeping their same drivers. So that leaves the Haas seats, one AlphaTauri, and I think that's it. So 3 seats open for next year. Yeah, it'll get interesting for sure. And one of the drivers that could fill those seats is Nico Hulkenberg, and he has been kind of Racing Point's saving grace as they completely fuck up their COVID protocols.
When you say completely fuck up, what do you mean?
Well, both drivers have at one point this season tested positive. No other drivers have. Their garage had an outbreak.
Mm.
Yeah. Their Racing Point's getting kind of the microscope to them and how they're handling it because nobody else has really dealt with more than 2 cases.
Mm-hmm.
And those are usually mechanics, so they're a little easier to quarantine, and they've basically only had contact with people in the garage.
Okay.
So, and generally you would have other mechanics like at the factory or something like that waiting if something were to happen. Racing Point has had both their drivers, over a dozen staff. The teams that they're traveling with aren't that big. So for, I think it was 14 or 15 of them who've contracted it. That doesn't look good for them. But we will, I don't know what kind of punishment they'll get. Probably none, for being honest, but yeah. That does get us, though, into the first of the 3 races.
Boom, boom, boom. That's many races sound. I was working on it all week. What do you think?
Well, that would have been good in the early think it was the early 2000s, like super early 2000s.
So I did good. I did well.
That was the last time it would have been applicable.
Applicable? Applicable?
Oh, applicable.
So I need to work on the noise somewhere.
Yeah, it needs to be more of a like there. It's a modern F1 car is super hard to describe what it sounds like.
Mm. I got this. I got this. I got. I'm doing it. You ready for it, AJ?
Yeah.
Chugga 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 chugga. Woo. Chugga 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 chugga. Does that work?
No.
Is that now what an F1 car sounds like?
No. It does. I will give you this. The sound of the air coming off the car kind of has a thud, like a chug to it.
Okay.
As it creates a vacuum behind the car. But that's about as close as you got. But we get to the Nürburgring. Typical late summer, early fall weather for Germany. Just a heavy mist hanging in the air. Not even fog. Like it wasn't even nice enough to be fog. It was mist. It was just a constant. So they couldn't run FP1 or FP2 because the helicopter couldn't make it to the hospital in time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else they could have done, but that was the limiting factor. In fact, they had a secondary landing site for the helicopter that they had to designate just in case, like the mist hung around, where they could get an ambulance out there fast enough, and then the helicopter would be able to reach the hospital in time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why those two were canceled, so they kind of had a Super Saturday.
Super Saturday. I like Super Saturdays.
Yeah. They ended up having like a little bit longer FP3 to kind of get some of the testing stuff and things like that in there. Mm-hmm. Obviously qualifying on Saturday. Race day was 48 degrees Fahrenheit air temp. Track temp was like 50.
Is that a problem?
That is cold as fuck. You can't even finish the work. But yeah, it was extremely cold for F1 cars. They do like the cars actually like running in the cold, but the tires don't.
Okay.
So, because obviously, anybody that knows how a turbocharged engine works, the colder the air, the better.
Right.
Because that means the denser the air, so the more air you can cram into the cylinder, and the more fuel you can put in there. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. And basically, like the colder the ambient air, the less work the radiators have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, the more efficient the engine is overall. Yeah, but the tires were just struggling all day. Lance Stroll, this was the race that he had to miss because of COVID. The kind of shitty part about how they handled it, or he handled it, he left Friday night, and Sunday morning he was home, wherever home is, and announced that he had tested positive on his like Instagram or something like that. So granted, he probably chartered a plane. His dad's a billionaire, by the way. So they either have a plane or he chartered a plane. But still, it's like, dude, just hunker down in Germany. You know, and worst comes to worst, you're there for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, shit really hits the fan and you have to go to the hospital. But
like realistically,
yeah.
That's yeah.
So Hulkenberg, the Superman for Racing Point. Had to fill in. He had less than a day's notice. So he basically had to drop everything. Granted, he already lives in Germany, so it wasn't a huge drive for him.
Mm-hmm.
But he did it in the ultimate just stunting on fools because he has no affiliation, so he doesn't get a free car. He's got a Porsche 911 GT2, GTRS2, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
GT2RS, whatever their naming is. So basically the top end 911. I'm like, dude, you're just stunting on fools now. Yeah, pretty valiant effort from him. We get to qualifying. As I say, he puts in a pretty valiant effort, but he only goes 20th. Not super surprising, considering basically qualifying was the first session that he had. He got a little practice, and then he was thrown into qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
Which, feel bad for him, but he's a good enough driver. Grosjean was a full 3/10 down on Kevin Magnussen, though. This is the dissension in Haas, right? Like, it kind of, the floodgates have opened for them now that both drivers aren't coming back. They're like, well, we don't care. The car's shit. Like, several interviews, both drivers have said, like, this car is terrible. It's the worst on the grid. It's just hilarious to see. We get going along. Vettel gets into Q3 for approximately 10 seconds. Just to add insult to injury to his season, Leclerc's the one that knocks him back down. He cannot catch a break in the Ferrari. Bottas puts in a lap of the gods, a quarter second faster than Hamilton. And these were both like second or third flying lap times. So not their first flying lap. This was true pace. This wasn't like a lucky first lap or like a bad first lap that Hamilton had. This is Robotas just being a robot, finding speed in every corner. And Leclerc gets the Ferrari up to a fourth in qualifying. Pretty big, considering that thing has the aerodynamic properties of a brick. And the engine out of a VW Beetle. We get to the race right off the bat. First turn, Mercs push each other wide. Somehow they both get through. One of them almost went off into the grass.
That's fine. That's fine. Are you implying to me that going in the grass is a bad thing?
Yes, especially when that grass was probably slick from overnight, either frost or dew.
Mm-hmm.
Probably didn't want to get a car into the grass, as we'll see later on. A little bit later on, Daniel Ricciardo goes for the switchback on Leclerc and just elbows out in turn 2, makes that car as wide as possible, makes the move stick. 155 into the race recap video. Bottas locks up from a ways out. he goes sliding for a bit. He probably felt like he was on the roller coaster there at the track. Going into turn 1. It had to have been like he probably could have made a diamond while that happened. 211 George Russell, I swear this guy's cursed.
Why do you say so?
He just can't catch a break. It's like people either cutting him off or the car just failing him. Just can't get a break. which is almost immediately followed by at 222 Kimi understeering in turn one into George Russell, and Russell effectively pirouetting the car on the rear left wheel. He went into the air. And F1 cars, especially now, can't survive a bump like that, like crashing down into the road. Something's going to snap. There was a time, probably in the 60s and 70s, where they may have been able to survive that because much more of that racing was wheel to wheel and kind of like how NASCAR is now, which is crazy to think about because the cars in the 60s were, well, they called them cigar cars for a reason.
That's a good term for it.
Yeah. They were about as wide as the driver and not super long. And the only thing extending from them were the wheels. So you're bumping wheel to wheel with your wheels. There's no bodywork to do anything. 236, as I said, the grass comes back into play. Apparently, Daniel Kvyat thought the grass in the chicane was a little too long. He decided to fix that for them by going through it and mowing it down.
I love that. He said he fixed the problem.
Yeah. He's like, I feel like you guys didn't do a very good job mowing through here, so I'm gonna help you out.
I'm just gonna boop 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 boop. Oh crap!
But as a result of him completely blowing that chicane, which I felt bad for him, he was on pace for a pretty good race. Alex Albon just caught way up because obviously got locked up, went through the chicane, and was barely rolling. When he got through that, Albon goes to make the pass, and I don't know if he thought he was clear or what, but he turns left to get onto the racing line and completely takes off Kvyat's front wing.
Really?
Like, he hit it clean. Like, his rear left tire just clean off. Took the entire front wing, sheared off the carbon supports, and just launched it. And obviously that's not necessarily the end of the race for Kvyat. They could go and get a new front wing.
But it is.
He had to do an entire lap without a front wing because that was on the final turn. So pit entry is right before the final turn starts.
Mm-hmm.
Kvyat loses his wing at the exit of the last turn. So he had to do an entire lap of a pretty aero-dependent track without a front wing.
Mm-hmm.
306, we find out that Mercedes is in fact human. Bottas just loses power. Just retire the car. And it's kind of weird because generally Mercedes, they'll have one or two races where one of the cars fails because what they do is they try to take their cars as long as they can.
Mm-hmm.
So gearboxes, full-on engines, turbos, things like that are designed to last like 6 races, I think it is.
Okay.
So they try to take it the full 6 and then as far as they can. So that inevitably when they replace them and they have to take a grid penalty, the theory is they've built up enough of a gap in terms of points that they could sacrifice a race.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So, when you play with fire, sometimes you get burned, and this was a case of that. At 424, Lando Norris had to retire his McLaren. He mentioned it was a loss of the ERS system, so the battery, the energy recovery system,
Okay.
in his car. Which
You sound unsure? Like you don't believe it?
well, I don't. I can't remember seeing anything coming out that it was in fact ERS and it wasn't like a something else that like a electrical gremlin.
Mm-hmm.
But effectively, what happens is when you lose ERS, you lose any way of recharging the battery. Well, that's fine and dandy, but when you run out of that electrical energy, the car tries to pull whatever other electrical energy there is, so that will shut down the car. So effectively, he was on an electrical time bomb. You know, the car was just going to run itself out of electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened. Feel bad for him. The 530 Vettel and the Oscars battle again. And yet again, Vettel just full on hip checks a car. This time it's Kevin. So both Roman and Kevin have been hip checked by Sebastian Vettel. Both of them recovered. So, all good. At 6:14, Hamilton ties the all-time win record with Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher, is he related to the dearly departed Joel Schumacher?
Potentially.
Hmm.
I mean, also his last name means shoemaker.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like calling somebody Smith. Or, and it's a descriptive last name. It's what last names used to be, right? Like,
Yeah. No, 1,000%.
um, so also T's and P's to Michael Schumacher. He is, as far as I know, is still recovering in the hospital. He took a pretty nasty skiing crash and has been on and off in a coma
Oof.
ever since. So T's and P's to him. His son Mick is potentially filling one of the Haas seats next year
Interesting.
because Mick was a Ferrari driver academy. Of course he was. And Haas's technical partnership with Ferrari kind of makes them a third Ferrari team in a way. To wrap up the Nürburgring, Daniel Ricciardo gets a podium. He had a deal with Cyril Abiteboul, who is the team principal at Renault, that if Ricciardo gets a podium, Cyril gets a tattoo.
What?
Yep. So I'm not sure who that should be more, like, who had more faith? Right, did Cyril have more faith that the car just could not get a podium? So he was like, of course I'll get a tattoo, Danny. Or did Daniel have so much confidence in the car that he's like, we can get a podium? Which, awesome. Also, it's Daniel's choosing of design and placement. If Cyril does not get a tramp stamp, I am greatly disappointed. But yeah, so then we go on to Portugal, the Algarve circuit. As I said, first time for F1. A lot of the drivers, though, that grew up driving in Europe have driven this track in the junior circuit. It's a pretty popular junior track. It has some crazy elevation changes, and some of the camera angles make it look like the car is coming out of the heavens. It's pretty fast. It's fun. I think a lot of the drivers seem to really enjoy their first time at Algarve. We get to
Also, it's very dangerous for doing that.
For what?
Because of that, like, of the elevation change, when they make it more dangerous?
No, not really. I mean, if anything, like, a lot of what it was is, so it's kind of built on a hillside.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like coming up and down a hill effectively. So a lot of the elevation changes are heading down the hill, or where the extreme ones are, and then you're coming back up.
Okay.
So it's not like a roller coaster where like you're coming up and then the track just falls out from underneath you.
That'd be amazing.
That would be dangerous. Because we would truly get to see if these cars could sink themselves to the ground. We get to quali. 106 into the video, Russell gets into Q2, making it a clean 33-0 against his teammates in his career. He could potentially, if he stays at Williams for another couple of seasons, he could go down as like the best qualifier ever in terms of against his teammates. Because I don't think anybody else would be anywhere close to 33-0 for their career. At 2:15, Vettel goes 15th. He is almost a full second down on the other Ferrari, which is already down almost a full second. At 2:36, Daniel Rick spins, and it looks like as he's spinning, it looks like something's flying away from the car. So potentially a suspension or something like that in the back broke, and caused that car to oversteer and then spin out, and that was just the debris from it. At 6:35, Hamilton just pulls the bully card and swipes pole from Bottas. Bottas had led every session except for Q3.
Okay. Well,
Free practice 1, free practice 2, free practice 3, Q1, Q2, all Bottas top of the sheets. And then Hamilton was like, psych, this one's mine. We get into the race, 25 seconds in, Max and Sergio Perez tangle, and Perez gets the worst of it. We get 1:39, the end of lap 1. Also, I would say go out and look up, I think it's on F1's official YouTube, Kimi Räikkönen's first lap onboard camera. The guy is like playing the F1 video game with the AI set to easy. It's ridiculous. It's so fun to watch. So he's up there running with the big dogs. He's running with like Albon, Leclerc, one of the McLarens, and then here's Alfa Romeo, Kimi Räikkönen, probably on the radio telling him, "Shut up! I know what I'm doing." Yeah. 3:26, Stroll back in this race goes for a move that I don't think anybody would have gone for. And Norris has nowhere else to go but the side of Stroll. And Stroll spins out, and I didn't put it on here. I'm pretty sure it was this race. Let's just say Lance Stroll didn't make any friends at Algarve.
Okay.
And in fact solicited a response from the Worldwide Mongol Peoples Association after Max called him a Mongol as an insult. Also, I didn't realize the Mongolian people had a worldwide awareness thing, but they do. Yeah. At 5:30, Pierre Gasly and Daniel Ricciardo going hard through turn 1, showing them how it's done. It's fun because these guys, like, Ricciardo is considered the last of the late breakers, meaning he's very good at knowing the limits of his brakes and can brake even later than you can. Pierre Gasly's kind of getting that reputation as well. So it's fun to watch these battles between these guys that just know exactly how far they can push the car.
Mhm.
Um, Other than that, I mean, we have one more note, but this was a pretty boring race. It was a lot of good battling back and forth, but in terms of like highlights, it's not that great. 625, Hamilton breaks the record, becomes the greatest driver of all time. I said it, a bunch of people are saying it. There are still people that say that Schumacher's the best, but guess what? Hamilton will have 100 poles and 100 wins before his career's up.
Wow.
Nobody else will ever do that. Probably ever. Like, I just don't see, unless another manufacturer just goes on a tear the way that Mercedes has.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then we get to our last race. One of the, I'll say, most controversial tracks that F1 could return to.
Really?
Yeah. They haven't raced at Imola since '06, and that was post post renovations to the track. It's just like A, it doesn't draw a lot of numbers, and B, everybody loves the Monza race because it's just flat out speed. And Imola is kind of like it, so F1 was like, we don't need two of the same race on the calendar.
Mhm.
This is the track, though, that claimed the lives of Roland Ratzenberger and Ayrton Senna in one weekend in '94. As I say, several turns have changed. The first turn where Senna lost his life has now become kind of a chicane. There's a couple other um, modifications made to the track to slow it down. Because it's an old school track. Like, it's gravel runoffs, it's steel walls. There's, I think, fencing for almost the entire track. So if the car goes up, you're getting launched into that. Gasly was running a really, really cool Senna tribute helmet,
Mhm.
which works even better because Senna has probably the most easily recognizable helmet of all time. It's that yellow with the green on the side, and then the Honda on the visor. Obviously, when he was at McLaren. And it's even better with Honda being the engine supplier for Alpha Tower. He could make that. He could make it work. It was awesome. Um, we get into qualifying 17 seconds in. I don't know what his deal is, but Kevin Magnussen seems to have a problem this year with the Italian tracks and their pit entries. Obviously, he retired at Monza at the pit entry. He goes to the beach right before pit entry.
Pit injury? Can you say
Pit,
the word?
pit entry.
Pit injury.
Box. Box, box, box.
Box. Pit injury. What is the other term you had trouble with earlier today?
I don't know. Oh, applicable.
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 Yeah. 32 seconds in, Russell gets into Q2 again. Super surprising. I didn't think that Williams would get out of Q3 at all this year. They have several times. 108. Daniel Ricciardo was on one to get through to Q2. He was exploiting as much of the track as he could without breaking track limits,
Mm-hmm.
especially going through the final turn. 228. I think for the first time this year, Alex Albon was above Max on the timesheets. Granted, it's Q2, so it's not a huge accomplishment, but still pretty big. 248. Vettel just, I don't know, continues to struggle with this Ferrari. And Leclerc just either has a more innate understanding of the car or is just somehow able to handle it better. Um, 5:58, Bottas grabs the pole. There's a gap of less than a tenth of a second. So he was on one too. We get into the race. 40 seconds into the or 40 seconds into the race now. 40 seconds into the video, Kevin goes for a spin. Again, I feel like every race, one of the Haas's are spinning around. 2:53, Ocon retires the car on the side of the road, out of the track. The virtual safety car is released. Hamilton pits under that time, and as he's exiting the pits, the virtual safety car is lifted. Seems pretty sketchy. So basically what the virtual safety car is instead of releasing the real safety car and getting everybody bunched up and all that, the virtual safety car is kind of designed to allow track marshals to, like, if it's something very localized, to clean it up. And the drivers get on their screen a time that they have to be below. Like, they have to be slower than this time through a section. So in theory, it keeps the gaps between the drivers, and doesn't bunch them back all up. But kind of weird that it only lasted for about 20 seconds. So there were definitely some conspiracy theorists saying that they released the VSC, when they noticed Hamilton was the last second for Hamilton to pit, and then cleared it once he left the pits. Therefore, nobody else could get a pit. I'm not 100% sold on that theory. It is weird, though, that it happened the way it did. Yeah. 3:31, Bottas locks it up, going through a turn, and I think he forgot his towel, though, but he did go to the beach, just for a little bit. That's probably why he didn't have his towel with him. Max tries to get by, gets past on the front straight with DRS, because of course. Which, not for very long, because at 4:10, Max had as I love this phrase, a sudden decompression on his right rear. Effectively, his right rear tire blew up. And he definitely looked salty because he was at the beach with no towel. And he was going to stay there for a while. At 4:34, again, Russell. This one was on him, though. Just gooses it coming out of a corner underneath a safety car and crashes into the wall. Reminiscent of one Roman Grosjean at Baku, I believe in 2017, did the exact same thing. And I want to say he blamed it on somebody, and it was clearly his fault. Russell didn't blame anybody, but it's like, dude, you can't do that. Like, the safety car is the easiest thing to do. 5:07, Albon spins coming out of the Villeneuve chicane. 5:19, Daniel Kvyat has his inner history of playing bumper cars rise up again. This time with Leclerc. Kvyat played bumper cars with Vettel at Russia in 2015, I want to say. Retiring Vettel, but both of them were fine. 5:44, the race ends. Mercedes claims their 7th title in a row, constructors' title, breaking the record of Ferrari that had 6 in a row. Again, I don't see anybody breaking this record anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would take a minimum of 7 years, and it doesn't
Just
look like
realistically.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like Mercedes is slowing down anytime soon. Also, Daniel Ricciardo back on the podium. Not another tattoo, as Cyril made it very clear on the radio. Only one tattoo, but we got the return of the greatest celebration in all of motorsports, the shoey. Shoey came back, and it was amazing because Lewis finally did one.
So walk awesome. Me through the history of the shoey here.
All right, I'll walk you through the history that I know. Apparently, this started sometime in, I believe, the 60s or 70s in Australia. The driver won and poured his, whatever they had, whatever their podium drink was, whether it was champagne, beer, whatever, would pour it into his shoe and then drink it out of his shoe. Apparently, this is a thing that Australians do anyway.
Oh, wait. Australians do this anyway?
Yeah, like it's like a party thing.
Like, Australia, we know you're fucked up, you got the big spiders, the big rats, you wanna fucking die from all the skin cancer, right? We get that. This is a new fucking level. This here. I never want to hear about Americans and their weird culture ever fucking again. If it's normal for you to take off your shoe, pour your fucking drink into it, and then drink out of said shoe, that is weird as flying fuck.
Now take into consideration a driver's boot that is sweaty as all hell. So that had been Daniel's podium celebration for several years now, and he has got some celebrities to do it. He had Patrick Stewart do it. Gerard Butler did it. Martin Brundle apparently begged Daniel Ricciardo to do it, and Daniel replied and called him, "You are a sick bastard."
Should I say?
Yeah. So yeah, the shoey's back. The shoey in COVID times back.
Yeah, also, it's COVID. What the fuck?
Well, you'll know. I put a photo in our doc. Daniel used both of his shoes. So exactly. Lewis had one shoe and Daniel had the other. Normally it's one shoe. So like everybody's drinking out of one shoe.
God almighty. Like, hear me out. At least if you're drinking at a party, the alcohol, like, decontaminizes it. You're just probably drinking Gatorade at this fucking point.
Well, no, on the podium they're drinking champagne.
Okay, but like I'm talking about, if you put hard liquor in there, it's safe. I don't know if I put champagne in there, it's
safe. I would consider champagne to be hard.
It's not hard. Champagne is like beer and wine.
15 to 20%.
That's weak shit.
Shoey history.
The shoey.
I'm curious when, like, drinking from shoes is the name of the Wikipedia article. Okay. The shoey is particularly popular in, but not limited to, Australia. The most commonly used drink is beer, however, other alcoholic beverages are also used. Ricardo has said, if the champagne is cold, then it tastes good. If it's warm, then you might get the sweat through it, but the cold taste kills the bad stuff, so it's delicious. Okay, so it looks like in terms of modern motorsports stuff, 2015, maybe? I'm seeing David Reynolds, supercars driver, won his first non-endurance race of his career. He did a shoey. Yeah. So, Ricardo introduced it in 2016. Mark Webber, who is a former F1 driver for Red Bull, he's an Australian as well. He's done one. Christian Horner, team boss of Red Bull, has done one. Gerard Butler has done one. Patrick Stewart. Um, I say Martin Brundle did one. Yeah. Apparently, Hash House Harriers, which is an international group of non-competitive running social clubs. Okay, it looks like off-road running stuff. Who wear new shoes to an event can be required to drink from that shoe. So not necessarily a shoey in the normal sense. Also, you have to like, dude, this tradition has been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Drinking champagne from a lady's slipper became a symbol of decadence in the early 20th century. The German army has a hazing ritual where you drink from another soldier's boot. Like, you know, it's the idea's been around for the Middle Ages. So like, not a huge. It's weird,
It's weird.
but it's also not like unheard of, I guess.
Damn Australians.
Well, blame the Germans, it looks like. As everybody else does. They blame the Germans for it. And for about a 40-year period, you were probably right. In terms of schedule, though, we have got Turkey. We have got the Bahrain head back to back. I was gonna say head to head, but it's back to back. And then we've got Abu Dhabi to finish up the season. Excuse me, Abu Dhabi will be the day after Cyberpunk releases.
Well, so the day, it's like 2 or 3 days before we know the presidential election. Is that delayed Cyberpunk date?
Yeah,
Okay.
went to the 10th. Which I drove by my local Best Buy,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know what your local Best Buy looks like, but mine has the
Pretty yellow and blue.
well,
Let's say.
yes, but mine has the giant glass facade on the front,
Okay.
and so above the sliding doors in the glass facade was a giant Cyberpunk ad. It said 11, 19, 20.
You're like, oh.
I was like,
Do you
At
think they got
least,
the memo?
at least they could go up and like cut out the date and just put a new one in there. But,
I wouldn't be shocked if we get like a sticker.
well, because they're all done from the inside, so you would have to go up there and either take the
Yeah.
full
Fuck. I forgot
thing
it's one of
off or
those. Yeah.
cut out the.
If it was at least like a GameStop like old cut cardboard things, like you could like put a sticker on it. But yeah.
Oh yeah, GameStop still had their thing up as 11/19.
But like if a lot of times they have like cardboard stand-ups. So those
Yeah.
are easier. You just go boom, sticker, we're done. Perfect. Yeah. That would be it then, probably for this F1 show. We will be back in a couple weeks, I guess, with another one for. Would that be the ultimate of the season?
Uh, that's the thing, right? Like everybody uses the term penultimate
Mhm.
as the second to last. So is the last the ultimate?
See, these are
I
good questions.
I would guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Who knows?
Who knows? And we will find out then. AJ, thank you for leading this fun adventure through the world of the fast cars. I'm proposing for season 2, we're going to do snail racing, just to give us a change of pace.
Well, hopefully, as long as the situation can get better, hopefully in Season 2 we will have a live race that we be at.
This is true.
Yeah.
Have fun, everyone. Bye.
This episode is partially brought to you by the Humble Choice program. Did you know Humble Bundle has a great monthly subscription service that lets you get a ton of video games every single month? That's right, from plans range from $5 to $20 a month, you get a hold of a bunch of free games they have available to you. And you could use our code down in the description below to go and sign up. It would help our podcast and help you see what great games are available for you this month.
This podcast was a production of The SWW Show. To learn more, go to theswwshow.com. Remember, you can follow the show on Twitter at The SWW Show. You can follow me at Mikey_Maroney. You can follow AJ at LowSeatBoy. Remember, new episodes premiere on Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time on anchor.fm/SWW and podcast services around the globe.